Hi, I'm Herrick Kimball. What I'm about to show you is something that I have done many times over the course of my career. And today, right here, I'm doing it in a bedroom in my own home. So what I'm using is 1x8 pine. It is actually 7¼ inches wide or tall, depending on how you look at it. And it's getting a base cap on it, a decorative base cap that is also pine. It happens to be primed, but it is wood. I don't use plastic. So what you're going to see here is the system that I have developed over the course of time for doing this and doing a very good quality job. Let's get right into it. We will begin with a quick overview of the room. It measures 12 feet by 11 feet and 6 inches. You can see that I already have some baseboard installed. There is a bathroom, and you can see the wide base and base cap with beaded wainscot above it. The door and window trim is what I call farmhouse style. Wide baseboards go well with the farmhouse style. The walls in this room will be painted with that sage green color. The wide base in the closet is all finished. All the trim in the bedroom will be that creamy color. The blanket is covering a floor hatch into a crawl space. It will have a lift-up door eventually. Take note here where the baseboard butts into the door casing. The surfaces are perfectly flush. That one stretch of wall is where we will begin our work. Here I'm taking a measurement for the 1x8 board length. This measurement does not need to be a tight fit. In fact, I'd prefer it to be a little short. There are places where a tight fit is important, as you'll see, but this is not one of those. I pre-cut all my boards to a few inches longer than needed before bringing them into the house. These are remarkably nice number 2 pine boards. It's important to look the boards over so you can determine the best side to face out. This board has one small notch that I'll put against the wall, and the other end has some raised grain that needs to be sanded smooth. Sanding the entire face of the board ensures the best surface for painting. I'm using 100 grit sandpaper here. One end of this board is square enough right from the lumberyard. I'll square cut the other end to the needed 135 inches. The top edge of the boards need to be rounded over. A rounded edge looks much better than a square edge, and it holds paint better. There are several ways to get a nice eased edge. A block plane and some 60 grit sandpaper will do the job very nicely. If you haven't seen my video showing how to easily and quickly sharpen a Carpenter's block plane, check it out sometime. I set the board in place, and here you can see the 135 inch length is nicely short. It could be short up to a ½ inch and still be fine. No need for a tight fit here. With the board in place, I pencil a line all the way across the top. Now I need to locate the wall studs. I can see a pencil mark and screw at the base of the wall from when I installed the drywall. What I do next is use my handy Whizbang PVC Carpenter square to mark a line up from the floor to the pencil line, not above the line. Then I use a trim screw and hammer to make sure I locate the center of the stud. Once that's determined, I pencil a stud center mark above the line. Another way to locate studs is with a rare earth magnet and a length of light string. Use a slow swinging motion with the magnet against the wall. It will lock right onto the screw head. If the screw head is up off the baseboard a ways, just mark the spot and use the magnet like a plumb bob to transfer the mark down. Locate the center of the stud as before. Here's a close-up of the string and magnet. Next, I'll transfer those stud location marks to the baseboard using my handy Whizbang PVC Carpenter square. I have 2 lines on the square that indicate where I will use trim screws to secure the board. Then I drill a 1/8 inch diameter hole through the board where every trim screw will go. The screws are 2¼ inch by number 6 trim head drywall screws. A number 1 square drive bit is used to drive them in. Screws will force the board much tighter to the wall than nails, and they also will straighten out any cupping in the board. Drive the screws in at least 1/8 of an inch so you have a good recess to hold wood filler. Now this next piece is where we're going to need more accurate cutting and fitting. This is what the right end of the board looks like. I could caulk that gap, but it's better to get a more precise fit, and it's not that hard to do. Out of curiosity, I use my handy PVC Whizbang Carpenter square to check if the installed baseboard is square to the floor, and it is. To make a cope line on the short baseboard, I use the PVC square as a little bit of a shim and my pencil. Cut on the line and check the fit, and that end looks just right. To get a just right fit here against the door casing, I hold the board in place and mark it approximately 1/8 inch past the casing edge, then I cut it square. By cutting the board just a little bit longer than needed, I can put the board in place, pull it away from the wall on the one end, and check the fit. Any longer than 1/8 inch would make it harder to do this. So now I can see that I have a small gap here at the top. I then mark the board and recut to get a better fit. Okay, now I've cut the end and it fits very nicely, but it's still a little too long. So I recut as needed, but not on that door casing end that looks so good. I cut a touch off the other end where, if I end up cutting too much, it's less of an issue. The objective here is to get a very precise fit against the door casing. A sharp block plane is sometimes easier to use than a saw for getting a little back cut and or to shave off just enough for a precise fit. So now the baseboard fits perfectly snug on both ends. The next thing to be aware of is if the face of the baseboard is flush with the face of the door casing. Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes the casing is a bit proud of the baseboard, like you see here. When that's the case, you need to use some cardboard pieces to shim the base out, like you see right here. And here's the shimmed out result. It's just right. And here's what it looks like all painted. Yes, you can see a little line. That's not a problem though. You don't see it from standing height, and if it was a distraction, it could be puttied and repainted, but it isn't necessary. If your baseboard ends up a little bit proud of the casing, that can be easily remedied with a block plane and sander. On the other hand, if the face of your baseboard is recessed back a bit from the face of your door casing and you don't shim it out, you're going to have much more of a job paring down the door casing to make everything flush. Okay, so that was a little rabbit trail, but that's important. Let's get back to our installed baseboard and start putting on the base cap. I cut the base cap with my chop saw, and this is a simple piece. For all inside corner cuts on the base cap, I 45 degree the ends. That's for baseboard that will be painted, as is the case here. If the molding is stained pine or a hardwood, then I would cope the inside corners. It would be a whole lot more work. Measuring the length of base cap that you need when doing 45 degree cuts on the ends in the corners is really easy with a 10-inch block of the base cap material like you see here. Here I'm driving a screw into the drywall at the 10-inch mark to hold the end of my tape measure. The handy PVC Whizbang Carpenter square is ideal for making penciled notes, drawings, and calculations. I use 16 gauge trim nails, 2 inches long to secure the base cap. 1 nail into each stud. If the cap is gapped away from the wall between the studs, I press the molding against the drywall and drive 2 nails next to each other at opposing angles. Now for another important little rabbit trail. If you need to join two pieces of base cap, I recommend a 45-degree scarf joint like you see right here. Use some Tight Bond 3 wood glue. That's the good glue, Tight Bond 3, where the pieces join. Once puttied and painted, the joint will never show. You can glue the two pieces when nailing them on, or you can glue them together like you see here. Masking tape makes an adequate clamp. Listen for the snap fit. I've made a video about the best wood filler I've ever used. It's fast-setting drywall compound which comes as a powder. Specifically, these little bags contain some Easy Sand 20. Add a little water, knead the mix, then cut a little corner off the bag. Overfill all the holes. The dried compound sands off easily and does a great job. Use a paintable latex to caulk all the seams. You don't want a large opening on the end. I snip the tip off just a little to get a flat surface. Then I make a small center indent with my utility knife. Then I use a 3/32 inch drill bit to make a hole. More than 3/32 is too big. I use a bucket of water, a washcloth, and some paper towels to do the caulking. I always caulk the seam between the base cap and the top of the baseboard. I do this because it looks nicer and it's easier to keep clean. The trick here is not to put on an excess of caulk. I always use a finger to tool the bead of caulk smooth. A finger is the ideal tool. Any finger will do. I finish up with the wrung out washcloth to erase any caulk that's smeared away from the bead. Smooth it out to your satisfaction. I keep the washcloth clean and wring it out as I'm working. I always caulk along the top of the base cap. Sometimes there's a small gap to fill and sometimes not, but the seam gets caulked all the way. Caulking the joints is what gives the final painted trim a very professional look. And that's all there is to it. Now, you will probably never see me do a painting how-to video because painting is not my thing, but I do my own painting. And I really do like, and I recommend for unfinished pine with knots and even without knots, this bin primer sealer. It's alcohol based, it's been around forever. I've used it forever. I love this product. It is not worth cleaning brushes with alcohol after you've used them. So I recommend these inexpensive chip brushes. Foam brushes don't last very long, but these will work and they're really inexpensive if you buy them by the box on Amazon. The advice I would give on these is that the bristles, if they're uneven, take some scissors and just snip right across, okay? And so you use these and you throw them away. The problem with these, the little discouraging aspect of these chip brushes, I don't know why they call them chip brushes, by the way. 2 inches is a nice size. That's what this is. The bristles will come out some when you're using them, but that's okay when you're putting a primer on because after it dries, and it dries very fast, that's a benefit of this primer. You would take a sanding block and just lightly go over what you've primed before you put your finish coats on, and that sanding will remove any little bristles that may have come loose and stuck in the primer, okay? I'm going to finish up here by walking around and just giving you an overview of the perimeter of the baseboard all primed.